Hi, welcome to another episode of Roots and Readers. It is a drizzly, dreary, wet fall day, which our fall vegetables are really loving. I want you to take a look over there. We have a very dedicated master gardener who is over here in the pollinator garden working very hard in the middle of this drizzle. We really appreciate all of their work and their efforts. If you want to come out on a sunnier day and volunteer to help, let us know. Just wanted to give you an update on how the garden is going for right now. I'm going to show you how to find some nonfiction gardening ebooks online that you can read from home without ever having to come to the library and see us. And I'm going to go over and highlight a few of our gardening books inside, just kind of tell you a little bit about a few of them and kind of highlight them for you. So first, let's take a look at the garden here. So here you see our lettuce. We lost a few to some pests and probably the warmer weather, but our lettuce is starting to really take off. It's been a little slower to grow recently because of all the warm weather we have. It really does like cooler weather. So if you can see, the small spates of cooler weather that we've had have really allowed these to start growing a little better. The same thing over here goes for our cabbage. This one's looking a lot bigger and better. As you can see, something has been eating on it, and I pulled about 30 baby snails out of this bed this morning. The rain brought them all up on top of the mulch where I could see them, and I just hand-picked them off of there. So I have a feeling that this damage has been thanks to the snails. However, it's not really too big an issue. As you can see, most of the leaves are intact and healthy, and the plant's still doing very well. As you can see, our winter radishes have really enjoyed this bed that I chose for them. They are going to town, they are huge, and we're hoping that they're going to get even bigger, and we're going to have some nice large radishes when it comes time to harvest. The harvest time on these is going to be later in winter or even early spring. These can actually survive over winter here. Next, we're going to go over our spinach here. We had a problem when we put the spinach out here. I wasn't able to get out to check on it for several days, and we ended up losing a lot of our spinach, unfortunately, and I wasn't able to catch and see what happened to it. So if you kind of look, we don't have much of our spinach left. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 plants left, but happy that we've got 4 left, and we can see how they grow and how they do in this bed. I am taking notes so I'll know whether this is a good bed for spinach next year or if I should switch to another bed. This is our beet bed. As you can see, the beets are easy to tell because they've got the red stems and red veins going up through the leaves here. You'll also notice our green onions are doing pretty well right here. They are, I guess the stems are firm, they're stretching up towards the sky, they're not all laying over, which is a good sign, so they're growing pretty well. What I typically do too, every day when I come out and check on the plants, I kind of I do some spot weeding. It makes it a lot easier to get these out by the roots whenever they're small, and it saves you a lot of time trying to dig up larger weeds later. So if you go out and check on your garden every day, which I suggest you do, go ahead and take just a few minutes to yank some of the weeds that you see, and it'll make gardening a lot easier. This is our broccoli bed. As you can see, we did lose some of our broccoli plants as well. But this guy's doing pretty well. We have this one. He's little, but he's growing. There's another one growing here. Our green onions are doing really well in this bed as well. This is our lima bean plant. I don't know if you remember from from a previous episode. This was a lima bean that one of our youth services planted for a Jack and the Beanstalk themed grab-and-go bag. And when that bag was all finished, she gave me the lima bean plant, and I decided to transplant it out here. As you can see, it is really loving this still warm weather. However, whenever it gets colder, we are going to lose it. But I do want to show you one thing down here. We do have our first blossom right under here. Okay. Now we're probably not going to have enough warm weather left for it to actually produce any lima beans, but that's a sign that it is very happy and healthy. Also, if you'll notice, I noticed when I came out and looked today, we have something is cutting up our leaves right here. So I'm going to be doing a little research and see what is messing with our leaf right here. But as you can see too, they have laid some eggs under here. So always flip your leaves over and check the underside, because that's where insects like to lay their eggs. And what I'll end up doing is pinching off this leaf, since it's only a few leaves, and I know it's the leaves that were cut that have the eggs on them. I'm just going to pinch these leaves off, and I'm going to get rid of them and take them out of the garden. So back to our volunteer bed. I did get rid of the cantaloupe vine a long time ago whenever we had some pickleworms get into it, and I didn't want them to overwinter or cause future problems in this bed. This is the pepper plant that we transplanted. It came up on its own this spring. It is still doing really, really well. We did have a beautiful bell pepper. This is where we cut it from. Beautiful bell pepper that went home with one of our librarians, Diana, and she said it was very delicious. So we did get to harvest a bell pepper from here. We wanted to get it. It was still a little small, but we were a little worried that with some more of the bugs and the pests we're seeing, we were afraid we were going to lose it, so we wanted somebody to be able to enjoy it. And then that little tomato plant that I showed you in our very first Roots and Readers video has become this huge monstrosity of a tomato plant. We did not expect it to get this big, or I would have put it over against the trellis and trained it up the trellis, but we're really enjoying it. We have already harvested 2 tomatoes off of it. We do have a lot more. Most tomato plants aren't producing as well any longer right now. This is kind of past tomato season. However, again, with the warmer weather, this one just keeps going. Another thing I wanted to point out is when you come out into the garden and you check it daily, make sure as you're checking over your plants, you also take off any diseased or dead plants. You can just kind of pinch off leaves or stems. You don't want the plant to put its energy into leaves and stems that are not really going to survive. You want it to put its energy into growing new vegetables, fruits, leaves, and stay healthier. So you can just kind of spot prune as you're out in the garden. It's best to have a pair of shears with you, or pruning shears. I don't with me right now, so I'm just using a fingernail to kind of slice through. But they do like the sharp edge of pruning shears better. They heal from it better, and then you are less likely to introduce other diseases and pests. So hopefully we will have time to see some of these tomatoes ripen. If not, when we have our first freeze, I will come out and we will have some green tomatoes harvested, and I'll see if anybody would be interested in some fried green tomatoes. I want to talk to you about some of the gardening books that we have here on the shelf at Hampton Park Library. And if Hampton Park is not your usual branch, you can search for these titles in our catalog, put a hold on them, and we'll ship them to your most frequented branch. The first book I want to talk about is Houseplants for All by Danae Hors. For those of you wanting to practice your gardening skills indoors this winter, this is a new release. In this book, she talks about light and describes the difference between direct and indirect. She also talks about humidity. She mentions that most houseplants are tropical and need humidity. So if you do have tropical houseplants, then she talks about how to increase the humidity. If your house is not humid enough, you can put the plants in humid rooms like bathrooms. You can put them on a pebble tray, which will create a little humidity bubble for that one plant, or you can plug in a humidifier. She also gives species recommendations for different light and humidity levels. She gives you indoor and outdoor tips because some of your houseplants really enjoy the outdoors during the warmer months. And she talks about shifting light because you probably don't have the same strength of light coming through each of your windows all day. The last part of the book, she talks about basic plant care. You'll learn how to choose a pot, how to choose the right soil. You can find potting and watering tips, instructions on fertilizing and pruning, and then there's also a section on problem solving at the end. So this book is Houseplants for All by Danae Hors, and this is a good read. The next book I wanted to highlight is Mother Earth News, Guide to Vegetable Gardening. This book has it all. It has tips on getting started, so don't just throw seeds in your yard, getting creative with your garden. You can mix flowers with your veggies. The veggies actually like growing together with flowers. Or you can grow your veggies in patterns and designs. This book will tell you how to check your soil and provide proper nutrients. There's a recipe for homemade liquid fertilizers. It gives you composting tips and tricks for achieving the right balance and keeping the odor in your composting pile down. And it gives instructions on what to do in the garden all year round, including winter. The next book, A Way to Garden by Margaret Roach, covers edible plants, flowers, bushes, and even water gardens all year round. Beautiful full-color photos invite the reader into the world of outdoor gardening and inspire visions of amazing landscapes. If I had the time and the money, I would love to grow a garden like Margaret Roach does. It's just gorgeous. In this book, gardeners are treated to a mixture of Mrs. Roach's personal stories along with her gardening tips. One new tip that she mentions that I hadn't even thought about before is when planning a garden, look out the window and see what area you have a view of. You'll be looking at it often enough from indoors, so why not make sure that the view is pleasant to your eyes from within the home? If you're out in the garden, you're probably working out there. You might not be sitting around and enjoying it as much as you do from indoors. She also touches on mulch and compost, on companion planting, and planting in layers, such as having a focal point with a tree and then having a bush with interesting foliage underneath that, and then maybe some other smaller plants on the outer layer of that. She also talks about planting with an eye to appearance and foliage all year round, so your garden doesn't only look good during a few certain months of the year, but your garden will be visually appealing no matter what month it is you're looking out there or outside relaxing in it. And then the last book I wanted to highlight, The Vegetable Gardener's Book of Building Projects, should be of interest to most gardeners, or most gardeners that have a handy person in the family. This book starts with tulle, lumber, and wood finishing advice, and it also gives handy building tips. The first section is on projects for planting and growing. You can learn to build a raised bed, a compost bin, a tool rack, a potting table, even an arbor, among other things. The second section focuses on projects for harvesting and preserving, like a solar dryer, which is a dehydrator you use outdoors with the sun, a garden bench, or a berry box for picking and transporting your berries on a flat surface, not so much a deep bucket or container, so that the berries on the bottom level aren't as bruised. This is going to be for more fragile berries like raspberries or blackberries. The third section focuses on projects to help you relax and enjoy your garden. You can tackle projects like a picnic table, a garden swing, chairs, a flower press, and birdhouses and bird feeders. You want to type in www.forsythpl.org and then go to eLibrary at the top. This will take you to our electronic library page. And then you're going to go down to the bottom and you're going to click on Ebscohost ebook collection. Once you click on this, the computer is going to ask you to log in with your library card number or your username and your PIN number. Once you get logged in, it'll take you here to our Ebscohost ebook homepage. Now once this loads, you can go to the search bar and you can type in a search term and find books this way. Or you can go over to the left side where we have a browse by category, and you can scroll down and click on Home and Garden, and then you can browse books from there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up to the search bar and type in gardening, and then click search to look for books specifically about gardening. As you can see, this gives me a list of books for all ages. And I can look at all of these. I can scroll down. We have some video results here as well. But I'm looking for a book today. So I'm going to scroll down and see if there's a book that looks interesting, something I can use. And here we go. Raised Bed Gardening, How to Grow More in Less Space. I've got raised beds here at the garden. Here at the library, so I'm going to look at this. You can do a full download, or you can open it in a tab and see the full text. You can look at table of contents or the most relevant pages or popular pages from the book. I'm going to go ahead and open it in full text here on the computer and take a look at this book. As you can see, you've got a list of chapters here on the left. More information here, the cover of the book, the author, date, detailed record gives you more information. I'm going to go scrolling. This is the cover of the book, and I'm just scrolling down page by page, just like you're flipping through a print copy of the book. And as you can see, we've hit the table of contents. So I'm going to look down and see if there's something that catches my eye here. And, oh, planting project, winter bedding, right over here, page 158. Winter's coming. Let me take a look at this. So instead of scrolling, I'm going to go to the bottom and I'm going to type in 158. Right down here, that'll take me directly to that chapter so I don't have to scroll all the way through the book to get there. And here is my chapter on winter bedding. So I can take a look and see what I might want to do through the winter. Just kind of browse through, and if this isn't quite what I was looking for, if I want to look at a different book, I can go to the back button here and click there and go back to my list of books and see if there's something else that interests me. And you can also get more detailed here. You can limit it to full text only or download available only, or you can change the publication date. If I want more recently published books, I can slide this over and look at the last 5 years of books that were published. And if you look right up here, you can see that still gives us 238 options. So I can scroll through books that were published more recently that might have more up-to-date information in them. So this is a quick way to find some informative books that you can read in real time, online, on the library's website. You got access to this with your username or your library card. Here at Forsyth County Public Library, we know books.